Hi, Josh Carr again, Carr Real Estate. Got this email from a colleague of mine. I just finished teaching a class. This was probably about a week ago. And the email says, thanks for the webinar. Wanted to run something by you. Attached is a table of CM ratings. That's a rating system for commercial mortgages where basically you give a risk grade based on loan to value and debt coverage ratio. And this person had this data where you got different ratings based on different rules, based on, say, debt coverage, based on, say, LTVs. And they basically said, hey, I've got this table, and this table down here comes from up here where they said, here are some different loan to values. Here are some different debt coverage ratios. Again, this information is from up here, and basically said, how do I build something, or if I built a table like this, how do I find the intersection? In other words, given a specific loan to value and given a specific debt coverage ratio, how do I get out this value CM1? And I color coded this just so you could see what the answer is. And again, the question was simply, what's a formula you could use? This would be a good example of where you could use an XLOOKUP. And I'm sure we've all had tables like this where someone said, here's a lower and upper limit, here's some LTV stuff. And I built this little thing. I said, well, you're really looking for two things. You're trying to get the intersection of this information and this information, oopsie, and this information. And so you basically have to run a test on this way and a test on this way and get that intersection. Now, if you've ever used lookup functions like VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs, you know they can only go in one direction. You can search for a V, you can search for an H, that is to say search on the vertical, search on the horizontal, but there's no good way of getting VLOOKUPs and HLOOKUPs to play nice together. Which brings me to the joy of the XLOOKUP. XLOOKUP basically lets you do a search in either direction, but as opposed to a V or an HLOOKUP, you can double them up. So you can do an XLOOKUP inside of an XLOOKUP. Or in other words, first, I could look on the horizontal. I could say, I'm looking for the number 1.6 in the red cells. The answer will be somewhere in the purple cells. I'm zeroing out the if not found. I'm saying don't worry about if something breaks. But what I am doing here is I'm saying, and when you look for something, look for it, and if you can't find it, go up a little. In other words, if it looks for 1.6 in the red zone, it can't find 1.6, but the next larger item is 1.75. And this little thing here I just snipped from the Excel help menu. As you can see, look for an exact match, and if you can't find it, go up to the next item. So when it looks for 1.6, it would return the row of information that was at 1.75. In the same way, I could do a vertical. I could say look for 83% in the red zone, return what's in the purple zone. It looks for 83%. It sees that's between, it's below 85, but above 75. And it would return this vertical. And then the fun part is, if you put the fact that you're looking horizontal inside of the fact you're looking vertical, basically an XLOOKUP inside of an XLOOKUP, you say, well, if I've got the horizontal array, and then I say, let's look for B42, in other words, 83% in the red zone, and then the answer is only going to be in the horizontal that we highlighted previously. In other words, look in row 33, and the answer must be in row 37. Well, then when it finds 83% here in E33, since the answer must be in row 37, the answer must therefore be E37. In other words, this gives you the intersection. And again, the cool thing about XLOOKUPs is VLOOKUP looks one way, HLOOKUP looks another, but there's no way to nest them inside of each other. With an XLOOKUP, you can say, I'm going to take my answer from one and nest it inside the other, and then you can basically do a test in either direction. And there it is. And as you can see, if I change this to be like 102%, and I make that like 1.05, it will spit out CM4 because this is 102% and this is 1.05, and that's CM4. That is an example of an XLOOKUP. So great question. I appreciate you asking me. There are definitely other ways to do it, but this is the way I'm starting to do it because I think XLOOKUPs are kind of awesome. Anyway, if this kind of stuff is interesting to you, check out my website at carrealestate.com or email me at josh@kahrrealestate.com and send questions because questions generate answers and answers become YouTube videos. And until I see you again, keep building better models. Thanks.